This is spring test number 9, sections 1184. We worked through scientific notation in 84 study guide. First section says which number is not written in scientific notation. Not written in scientific notation. The key to this is the number has to be between 1 and 10. That's your key, between 1 and 10. If you look at this number, 3 is between 1 and 10, so is 6.7, so is 8.7. But look, 25.67 is not between 8 and 10. That's bigger than 10. The second one, notice it says that one said is not between. Second one says is written in scientific notation. That it is written in scientific notation. 7.8 is a good number. So is 3.4. But notice that the first one says times 10 to the negative fifth. B says times 100 to the second. That's why this one doesn't work. 0.84 is not as big as 1. Remember, it has to be between 1 and 10. And then negative 5, it has to be between 1 and 10. That's why C and D won't work. So the only one that'll work in that case is A. So D for 1 and A for 2. This is going way back right here, just due to distributive property. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 6 is positive 18 equals 30. Get rid of positive 18 by subtracting it. Do the same thing on this side. 3y equals 12. Get rid of 3 times something by dividing. Do it over here. Y is 4. The other one, you have variables on both sides. Bring your smaller amount of x's over to your larger one. You have positive 3x. Undo that by subtracting it. If you do it on that side, do it on this side. That leaves you with 2x minus 5 equals negative 9. Get rid of minus 5 by adding it to both sides. And you have 2x equals negative 4. Get rid of 2 times something by dividing. And x equals negative 2. Again, just going way back just to make sure we're still good on those. 5 says find the slope and y-intercept of the line. This is not written in slope-intercept form. This is standard form, ax plus by equals c. In order for you to see slope-intercept, you got to write it in that form, y equals mx plus b. So we need to move whatever's not y over to the other side, 14x. That's positive. Undo that by subtracting 14x. If you do it to that side, do it to the other side. You can't take 14 away from 24, not like terms. But you're left with 4y on the left side equals a negative 14x, just to where you say mx first, and then positive 24 to where you say plus b. Get rid of 4 times something by dividing by 4. Do the same thing to everything on the other side. Y equals negative, and notice the number 4 doesn't go into 14, but 2 does. Negative 7 over 2x. And then 24 divided by 4 will be plus 6. Now it says mx plus b, where your m value is not negative 7 over 2x, it's just negative 7 over 2, and your b value is plus 6. So your slope, remember, is the same thing as your m, and your m is negative 7 over 2, and your y-intercept is the same thing as your b, and that is positive 6. Number 6 is find a solution to the following system of equations. It's going back a couple of weeks. Different ways you can do this. Remember, we learned 3 different ways. Graph them, find where the 2 lines intersect. Use substitution by plugging in values, or you can use the combination and elimination one. That seems like it'll be the easiest one for me, but some of y'all might have used substitution just because y was already isolated. But notice your x is on top of your x's, your y is on top of your y's. Your coefficient of this y is 1. We can get that one to say the opposite. The coefficient of that y is 1. It's easy to get it to be opposite with the other y underneath it because that one's positive 2. So we just want to make that top one negative 2. So in order to do that, we need to multiply it by negative 2. But we can't just multiply that one term by negative 2. We need to make sure to distribute it to everything. So negative 2 times negative 5x is positive 10x. Negative 2 times positive 1 will be negative 2y. And negative 2 times negative 5 will be a positive 10. So now you have 2 equations in the system, and you have opposite terms in 2y and negative 2y. So if you combine negative 4x and 10x, you get a positive 6x. If you combine 2y and negative 2y, they'll cancel each other out and you'll be no y's. And if you combine 2 and 10, you get 12. So in order to get x at this point, it says 6x, 6 times x equals 12. Undo that by dividing by 6, and x is 2. Once you have x's value, plug it back into one of those equations. I'll just grab the first one, negative 5x plus y equals negative 5. go ahead and drop that value 2 in place of the x. So negative 5 instead of times x now, it's times 2 plus y equals negative 5. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10 plus y is negative 5, and then undo negative or minus 10 by adding it. If you do it to this side, do it to the other side, y equals 5. So you have x and you have y, remember, written as an order pair, x comma y, 2 comma 5. So if you were to graph those two equations, they would cross at 0.25. Number 7 says graph the inequality. It's already in slope-intercept form, mx plus b, where your m is 4 and your b is negative 2. So b tells you to begin at negative 2. That's your y-intercept, begin at negative 2. Your m tells you 4. The m value is 4. Remember, slopes always rise over run, so you need to have it over something, and we could put everything over 4. I'm sorry, over 1. So that tells us to rise 4, go up 4, and run 1, go to the right 1. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1 for our second point. Now we have 2 points. This symbol tells us if we're going to have a solid line or a dashed line. It does not say or equal to. It just says less than. So that's going to be a dashed line running through those 2 points that we have plotted. It does not go through 0, 0, so we can check the truth value. Remember, we have to check. We either got to shade this side or we got to shade this side based on the truth value of 1 point. The easiest point to plug in is always the origin, always 0, 0. As long as your line doesn't go through there, you can do that. So y value 0 to x value 0, 0 is less than 4 times the x value is 0 minus 2. 0 is less than 4 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0 minus 2. 0 is less than negative 2. This is the one you have to check the truth value of. Is that a true statement or not? No, 0 is not less than negative 2. So this is a false statement, which means everything over here on this side where the 0, 0 is false, which means everything shaded the opposite way is true. Find the slope of this. Remember, your slope formula is the change of y. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over your change of x sub 2 minus x sub 1. If you need to label it, that's probably the easiest thing to do. Remember, everybody understands it's x then y, then x then y. This is the first point, so 1, 1 is the second point, 2, 2. Just plug your values in. It calls for y sub 2 first, so this is y sub 2, 1, minus y sub 1's value is 7, over x sub 2's value is next, which is 10, minus x sub 1's value is 1. 1 minus 7 is negative 6, over 10 minus 1 is 9. The number 3 goes into both of those numbers. 3 times negative 2 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. So your slope, or your m value, remember that represents slope, is negative 2 over 3. Okay, then we get into some exponents. Negative 8.6 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Notice this next one says negative 6, or it's negative and then 6 is raised to the negative 1 power. So that looks like this. Negative and then 6 is raised to the negative 1 power. So since it's raised to the negative 1 power, remember that's like the elevator rule. It's got to go down. That says to the negative power, go down. You still have negative 1 at the top, and then 6 to the first power comes to the bottom. So make that change if you have that as positive 1 over 6. Negative 1 over 6. 4 to the negative 2 looks like this. 4 to the negative 2. Again, it's a negative exponent. It's got to ride the elevator down. That goes down. It becomes 1 over 4 squared. And 4 squared is 4 times 4, so 1 over 16 is your simplified answer. For number 12, 7a to the negative 5th, b to the 3rd. The only thing, remember, everything's over 1. The only thing that needs to move in this one at all is a to the negative 5th, not 7a. So this is going to ride that elevator down. What's still left at the top is 7 times b to the 3rd over a to the negative 5th becomes a to the positive 5th. And that's simplified. Can't do anything else to that one. Number 13 says 12 over c to the negative 8 d to the d squared. This one's just like 12. The only thing that needs to move is c to the negative 8. It goes to the top. So 12 times c becomes to the positive 8th over d squared. Again, you can't do anything else to that one. You don't know what c or d is. 20 times 5 to the negative 2. See what happens to this one. 5 to the negative 2. Remember, everything's over 1. 5 to the negative 2 has to ride the elevator down before we do any multiplication. Remember, you got to do exponents first. So 20 still at the top over 5 squared at the bottom because it becomes positive. So we have 20 over 5 squared is 25. The number 5 goes into both. 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 5 is 25. We have 5 to the negative third times 7 to the 0. What needs to ride the elevator is this needs to go down. It becomes 7 to the 0. We know is 1. All we did was took this value here, 7 to the 0. Anything to the 0 is 1. Over 5 to the third power, because it becomes positive. 5 to the third is 1 over 125, because 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5 more is 125. Notice all your bases are the same for number 16. So keep your bases the same. 12 to the negative third. Remember, when you're multiplying the same bases, you add exponents. So plus 10 plus 0. So 12 to the negative third plus 10 would be 12 to the 7th power plus 0 will remain 12 to the 7th power. And if you went ahead and did 12 to the 7th power, you see a great big number that starts like this. But this will probably be the acceptable answer. But if you need to make it into its full form, it'll look like this: 358 31808. Number 17, 7.46 is kind of a pain, the fact that it has that, but notice it's the same as the other 7.46. So you're still multiplying the same bases. So 7.46 to the negative fifth plus 6, you're still adding the exponents, which leaves you with 7.46 to the first power, which is simply 7.46. There's nothing else you have to do to it. For the next one, multiply 2 times 3 and you get 6. And then you have the same bases multiplying by each other, k to the 8th and k to the 3rd. So k to the 8th plus 3, 6k to the 11th is all you can do with that one. This next one, you have 8 to the 5th times 3b to the 9th times 6a. Your coefficients you can multiply. 3 times 6 are 18. Your same bases that are the same are 8 to the 5th and 8 to the 1st. So that's 8 to the 5 plus 1. Don't forget the plus 1. And then b to the 9th is all by itself. So 18, a to the 6th, b to the 9th is your simplified answer. And the last one, notice this is kind of a bonus problem, but notice all of the bases are the same. So you have 6 to the first power plus t minus 2 plus t. And when you combine those like terms, 1 minus 2 will be 6 to the negative 1, and t plus t will be plus 2t. And that's really all you can do to that problem. Number 21 says k squared to the 4th. Now we're raising a power to a power, an exponent. So we have, instead of adding the exponents, now we're going to have k squared times 4, which is k to the 8th for this one. 22 says t to the negative 2 to the 6th. Same thing as 21, just a little bit different. T to the negative 2 times 6 gives us t to the negative 12. And remember, we can't leave a negative exponent in this sense. Everything's over 1. So we can flip it or we can ride the elevator. It becomes 1 over t to the positive 12. 5k squared to the 3rd. Only thing different between 21 and 23 is you have to make sure to give the 3rd to both terms. So 5 to the 3rd and k squared to the 3rd means times 3. So 5 to the 3rd power means 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 more is 125, and k to the 2 times 3 is k to the 6. For this next one, simplify the left side, then the right side, then put them together. So 2 has to go to both terms, or to every term, I should say. The squared has to go to every term. Negative 5, it's being squared. G to the 5th is being squared, so times 2. And h to the 6th is times 2. That's being squared. So negative 5 squared would be negative 5 times negative 5 is 25 g to the 10th h to the 12th. And on the other side, everything needs the fourth power. So g to the 4 times 4 and h to the 2 times 4. So we have times g to the 16th, h to the 8th. So we notice we're multiplying here straight across. 25 is going to be, it's by itself because their coefficient over here is 1, so 25. G is the same base, 10 and 16, so 10 plus 16. And H is the same base, H to the 12th and H to the 8th, so 8, H plus 8. So we have 25, G to the 10 plus 16 is 25, G to the 26th power, and H 12 plus 8 is H to the 20th power. There's no negative exponents, and there's nothing else we can do with that problem. 25 G to the 26th, H to the 20th.